We got some more Juan Soto and Blue Jays updates here, so we'll have that on this episode of Jays Digest, and it's coming out from all different directions, whether it's Blue Jays reporters who are plugged in, whether it's those on the outside looking in. So we'll have that coming up next, and we'll also talk about a prominent Yankees figure who is scared of Edward Rogers, scared of the Blue Jays brass. Tune in for what's coming up next. Welcome in, everybody, to Jay's Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into all of the Juan Soto mania, all of the Juan Soto craziness, we want to let you know that this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who's a proud supporter of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team, helping them defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, it does not matter. They got you covered.
Yeah, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca has a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you. And the best part is the website is clean, super easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all the options available in your area. So find your home court with Rentals.ca and check out the link in the pinned comment and description as well. And again, shout out to Rentals.ca for supporting our channel, supporting Team Canada, and supporting you guys finding the best rentals across the country. They've been supporters of us for a while. So again, check out the link in the pinned comment and the description as well. And thank you to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. Peter, a lot to go over today, and obviously news is going to keep flying surrounding Juan Soto, surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays. And you mentioned a prominent Yankees figure kind of seeming a little bit scared of the Jays in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. But we're going to start with Shi Davidi, and he dropped an article, and I'm curious to see what you all think about this in the comments as well as yourself here, of course. But it's kind of reminiscing back and comparing the current situation to the Jays in 2015, 2016, when, of course, the front office was taking heat, the core was aging and in need of help, and they made a bunch of moves. Now, it's obviously a little bit different for a variety of reasons, but he basically goes on to say, that the most direct lane to impactful change this winter is Juan Soto, and the Blue Jays' participation in the Superstar sweepstakes is understandable. At the same time, leaks about how aggressive they are pursuing the slugger should be taken with caution. As with powerful agent Scott Boras representing Soto, his desire for a public stalking horse is an obvious dynamic. And he basically goes on to say that, the Jays are heavily involved in Scott Boras, but you can see in the second paragraph here, and heavily involved in Juan Soto as well. But the Blue Jays know all the better than anyone, and it's possible that they're happy to let Boras use them up to drive the price for Soto in hopes of better access to some of the other free agents. So it seems like they're going heavily in on a lot of different guys here, and maybe their involvement in Soto will be kind of a catalyst to get some of the bigger free agents down the line.
Yeah, and the work can't stop there. So if you do manage to get Soto, you're going to have to make some other subsequent moves because it's not going to solve all of the issues that you have on your roster. Soto's a great hitter, don't get me wrong, but he's not the one to get you outs in the seventh, eighth, or ninth innings when your bullpen has to be deployed. He's not going to be your fifth starter for you. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. And if they do have to go to the lengths of, let's say, $700 million, $750 million to outbid Steve Cohen in order to get this guy, I'm just wondering what is going to be left after that. Are they going to have the ability to go beyond that $700 million? Because sure, it's great, you get him, but then after that, you got to extend Vladdy. You got to keep Bo around. At least you would think so, or maybe try to trade Bo and address some other holes in your roster. I don't know what the course of action would be if you get Juan Soto, but a lot of other things need to fall into place for this Blue Jays team to truly reach their peak again and get back to where we think that they can be with this acquisition. So you'll need pitching. You'll need maybe another bat or two, and you'll probably need a starter in that rotation as well, and a backup catcher. There's a ton that needs to be done here by the Blue Jays. So getting Juan Soto is not enough. It's got to be the goal, of course, of the offseason. But there are some other names out there that maybe you'll take yourself out of the race for an Alex Bregman or something like that. Maybe another high profile free agent if you're spending all that cash on Soto. But if there's truly no limit to what you could spend this year, I think we'll see them be very active on the trade market and want to go that route as well to try to address some of the shortcomings on this roster.
Yeah, you can see there in the third paragraph as well. Whatever they end up doing this time, even if it's landing Soto against all odds, one or two major moves on their own won't be enough to propel the Jays upwards in 2025, just as the 2015 team needed a huge boost as well. And that's ultimately what it comes down to here. And again, Davidi's very plugged in. He's kind of he's pretty close to Ross, Atkins, and all those guys. So I believe, of course, we all know they're heavily in on Juan Soto, but if they strike out on Soto, I think they're going to be going heavily in on some of the other guys, and that's why they're building up that relationship with Scott Boras. And another quick note, John Heyman was on Bleacher Report yesterday, and he gave us updated Juan Soto odds, and he didn't say too much about the Jays, but he said, I watched the clip, but he said they're highly motivated. From what I hear, the meeting went very well with the Blue Jays. They have a good history with players in the Dominican. Listed Mets as the first option, and again, Jays as the second option. So this is the second day in a row, or second report in a row now from Heyman over the past few days, where he lists the Jays as the second option. And the big reason for that is because they are spending a lot of money, and they're the richest ownership in the league. And it seems like, according to Heyman, who is just a mouthpiece for Scott Boras most of the time, Soto is going to take wherever he gets the most money, and the Jays have a much better opportunity to do that compared to the Ohtani situation, where there was a lot more factors involved. And speaking about money, we'll start with this. Hal, of course, the Yankees, a guy in the Yankees front office, he came out and said, would losing Juan Soto to the Mets hurt more than losing other players? He said, no. As I said, we're going to be in the mix for Soto. If it doesn't work out, it's going to hurt a little bit no matter where he goes. And Peter, there's a lot of Yankees fans that are a little bit nervous about this, and he made a specific comment about, he didn't directly call out Rogers, but he said, you can imagine Steinbrenner is referring to Rogers with this comment. He said, I'd say that about a couple team owners too. He said when asked about the team's spending power, or corporations for that matter, that represent the owners. So, I mean, of course it's a concern. And he's talking about the Jays being, it was directly asked about Steve Cohen, but he brought up the Jays essentially here because the only other corporation in the mix being, willing to go out for Juan Soto, and how it's definitely a concern. And I don't know, I was listening to watching tweets and things about the interview with Hal, and he seems a little bit concerned here.
Yeah, and he should be, because Hal Steinbrenner and the rest of the Yankees brass here, they're kind of taking a back seat to this whole Juan Soto thing. And maybe they're not willing to go to the lengths that other teams are to keep him around. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It showed how much of an impact that Juan Soto had in his first year with the New York Yankees. He was everything that they needed, and he exceeded expectations, I would say. Set career highs in home runs, in RBIs. It was one of his best seasons that we've seen. One of the best seasons ever that we've seen in recent memory. That's how good he was, and he was a major component as to why they were playing in the World Series. So I don't think they could lose him and get back to where they were this season. No way. No way. So you have to keep him if you're the Yankees. The thing with the Yankees is that if they keep him around, I don't think there's as much work for them to do with the rest of their roster, as opposed to, let's say, the Jays or the Mets, who are also in on him. So that's an advantage that they have. But the Yankees have always been a team that is, the whole is bigger than the parts of the whole, and I think that's what they're still sticking with as a philosophy. I think Hal Steinbrenner is not going to be outlasted by Scott Boras, and he's not going to get into that toe-to-toe boxing match with him. So I think at the end of the offseason, they're just going to say good riddance, and we don't want to deal with this anymore, which may not be the smartest baseball decision, but I mean, this thing is already starting to turn into a circus act, and I don't know if the Yankees want any part of that. They think they're above that. So, I mean, better for the Jays, better for the Yankees if the Yankees, better for the Mets, sorry, if the Yankees don't want any part of this charade or thing that Scott Boras and Juan Soto are doing right here.
Yeah, ultimately, it's going to come down to, I think, the Mets and Jays. But I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, either way, these comments weren't super intriguing, and it doesn't seem like he's too eager to get the job done. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this, as well as the updates from Shai Davidi and, of course, John Heyman. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to hit the subscribe button, as well as check out rentals.ca in the description. Thank you again to them for sponsoring this one, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.